All right, Sooner Nation, I'll admit it. When Jay Valai left, I wasn't sure how big a swing Oklahoma would take at defensive backs coach. But the more you talk to people around the program, the more you hear one name over and over, Lamar Morgan. And the word replacement, it's not about replacement, it's about an upgrade. And that's not the only shift happening in Norman either. With DeMarco Murray out, the Sooners are about to reset the tone in the running back room too. So tonight, myself and Kchris Mason from Sooners 360, we're going to ask the real question. Are these just off-season vibes? Or is Brent Venables quietly leveling up his staff for the SEC grind? Talk about it. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome back to Sooner Intel. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, with my co-host, Mr. Mason, Kchris Mason from Sooners 360. Kchris is down tonight with a bad tusk, so we'll be just doing it alone. But if you love Sooner football, you know you're in the right place. So before you forget, smash that red subscriber button, like our videos on all three pages, and don't forget to ring the bell so you don't miss a moment of Sooner Intel. Mr. Mason, welcome back to the show, sir. How are we doing?
I'm doing good, Jason. It's been I thought we thought February would be uneventful, and big
Well,
news,
no.
big news just keeps breaking left and right.
Yeah. Listen, man, it's one of those things that, it hadn't really been like that the last few years though either. So I guess it's not that surprising that stuff's going on. I don't know that I really thought that DeMarco Murray would be finding a new home. Going to the Chiefs though, he's going to be hanging with Andy Reid and company, and Mahomes and the boys. So look, I know we've been talking about a lot about that. We'll get into that in a few minutes. I think I'm a little concerned about probably the recruiting a little bit, but I would say this: if they continue to target the way it looks like they're targeting on the defensive side, then maybe they go out and swing for the fences for somebody like Rashard Samples or somebody like that, and it turns into something huge. So can't be bad. It could be bad, but I feel like they're in a good position. But talk to me about Lamar Morgan, because I don't think this was on anybody's radar.
No, I mean, I think we threw out any number of names. I know I was mentioning TJ Rushing on both a Sooner Intel show and the recruiting Intel show.
Yeah.
But obviously, and he wasn't on the hot board of any of the major OU sites. So this was obviously a thorough process Brent went through. He didn't take an easy layup of just promoting Xavier Brewer, which I think he could have done, and that would have been an explainable strategy.
Sure.
But instead, he obviously, I think he's sort of learned the lesson from the Seth Luttrell situation, and his hiring process is, I think, just has more rigor and more process to it. He's obviously reviewing more resumes. He's getting more opinions from different voices. I think Nagy is probably helping in that regard. Like, Brent, let me give you 5 resumes of guys the NFL really likes. Let me ask my NFL guys for some resumes that you can review, not review, but it just helps when you get somebody else providing you with different perspectives and viewpoints. You end up, I've done hiring before, and whenever people could provide and help me with names to consider and review, it was always a good thing, never a bad thing, right? It's never a bad thing to have folks providing you with information and different data points and viewpoints when you're doing hiring. So I think it shows.
Well, when Nagy was last in the NFL, I mean, it's not like he wasn't in good franchises. It's not like he was with the Browns and shit.
Well,
So they had good
exactly.
coaches.
Yeah.
They
So
had good
exactly.
coaches, right?
Yeah. And so I think it shows that Brent is willing to go outside of the OU guy, outside of the Clemson guy, and
Yeah.
is willing to willing to review resumes and decide and interview guys and find the right fit. And Lamar Morgan's a veteran coach. Something you brought up and something that Chris brought up last night. That's another defensive coordinator on staff. So you now have Nate Dreiling, Brandon Hall, Chris Godwin, and Lamar Morgan, who have all play called defense at the college level, which I don't think having that kind of strategy viewpoints in the room when you're preparing for football games is a bad thing at all.
No,
So,
and this is something that kind of popped through my head. We were saying that like off the, off off air a minute ago too, but something that just kind of popped in my head was like, with all these former DCs and guys that know what it is that you want as Brent Venables, you can afford to be a little more CEO-ish,
Yep, you can afford to he was a defensive passing game coordinator at Michigan too. I believe that was one of his titles. I don't know the level of what he was doing, but obviously it sounds like he was involved in the passing and in scripting the pass defense. His cornerbacks had numerous stops, all high interception rates.
Yeah.
A lot of interceptions. So Michigan, has played pretty good pass defense. His 2 years there. In 2024, that was a struggling Michigan team, but that defense was locked in, and it was even locked in after they lost Will Johnson, the elite cornerback for the season. So,
Yeah.
But Lamar Jordan, coached Will Johnson. He knows what an elite cornerback on from the college perspective, and Will Johnson's probably going to be elite in the NFL as he gets. He had that knee.
That dude's a stud, bro. That
Yeah,
dude's
that kid
a
was a stud.
stud. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot there, and Jason, I just glanced. I hadn't had a chance to glance before at the 2025 Michigan recruiting class because 2026 has got some things around it. With the whole transition with Sharon Morris, some players have left, but his 25 class at Michigan, there are 3 top 200 cornerbacks, players who are 4-star. There's a 4-star safety and there's 3 cornerbacks that are elite guys, top 200 type guys. One from Texas, one from So I think and Morgan's got has a lot of experience. I think at Michigan he probably has been recruiting a lot of the California kids that OU's focused on. There was a feature article today by Parker Thune on OU Insider, and he was able to get hold of Juju Johnson, who says, I know Lil Morgan. Coach Morgan's been recruiting me. He's been recruiting me for 2 years. So that will help with Dante Wright, Juju Johnson. He probably has been talking to the Arizona guy, Michael Davis. And Michigan probably was trying to recruit Gabriel Osborne. So I imagine Lamar Morgan's probably had a conversation or two with Gabe Osborne as well. So I think Michigan was recruiting a lot of the same DB talent that OU was recruiting. So I think that helps there as well.
That's kind of been going on for a while too, right? They've been kind of chasing the same dudes because these are 2 of the better defenses in the country.
Yep.
For the last few years, and
it makes sense. Michigan's always recruited Texas heavily. They got a DB.
They always recruit California well too. Yeah,
they got a DB from Lone Star Frisco, whose name escapes me right now. I'm sure somebody in the chat will correct me. Who I really wanted OU to get, and they were able to pull him in. So I think this shows that OU. I don't think this guy came cheaply, right? And
no way.
And it shows.
Did they run him off though? Was that Whittingham like running him? Because that's crazy. If so,
no. Whittingham just got his guy from Utah, and Whittingham friends of Kyle are getting bumped in ahead of existing guys. I think there's a lot of people at Michigan that kind of thought like that's maybe a mistake. That Jordan's one of the guys he needed to keep, and yet that kind of goes back and forth.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah.
Sometimes you want some continuity, and sometimes you want your own guys, and both arguments have their validity to them, right? It's like, okay, I can see that, but I think for OU to go get a guy who, as you said, 2024 Michigan defense, 2025 their defense, took a step back a little bit, but all that NFL talent, it was hard not to. But they're still going to have 3 or 4 guys drafted. The
Oh yeah.
Barham kid and Derek Moore are going to be high picks. So, and obviously that he didn't coach those guys, but overall, he knows what he knows what elite defense looks like. I
Oh
think
yeah.
he
I
can.
mean, that's one thing about Whittingham is they get it done.
Yeah, Whittingham does, but I mean, Lamar Jordan knows what
Oh,
elite
Lamar
defense.
Jordan. No, no, no,
Okay,
no. I
yeah.
agree. I would agree with
So
that.
this
And
is this is a good. I think this is a
that's their
good.
calling card, right? That's been their
This,
calling card since Harbaugh was there. That's what they do.
exactly. This is a good cultural fit, I think, for OU. He brings maybe a little Southeast recruiting, maybe some Louisiana connections. We'll see.
Yes.
Louisiana's full of talent. You don't always have to be. You can pull gems out that aren't the 5 stars that everybody else is focused on. So
Mhm.
there's an ability to do some of that. So I think it's a good hire, and it just shows to me that Brent was willing to go through a thorough process quickly. He got the guy in a week,
Oh.
but a thorough process quickly to identify someone. And there's no signs that he knew this guy before this process, which means if you can find somebody you really like, and you can get somebody with these credentials, and you can sell your message to somebody like this, right? To the point where he's like, "Oh yeah, man, I'm Oklahoma. That's under Brent Venables." So it speaks well for
It's not
OU.
hard to sell that. It's not hard to sell this defense.
It isn't, but it speaks well for OU in terms of that. And like I said, the fact that Valai upgraded on his way out the door, I think speaks well for OU as well. I mean, that's the same thing we're going to be talking about in DeMarco a second, right? He
Yeah.
upgraded going out the door. This isn't a situation where OU finds that we lost DeMarco Murray to Ohio State or to Georgia or somewhere else, right? He's going a very different route by going to the Chiefs and with very different career goals with that.
Yeah,
So
and for all the stuff, for all the crap everybody likes to give DeMarco, and I'll say that there was a time that I was doing it too, so I'm not gonna get too crazy, but that being said, if you have to look at it, and I mean, the dude was recruiting very well, and he did not, turn his back on the program and go to a rival because these guys, those are both they're both rival programs because if you're chasing the same things, that becomes a rival program. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, I mean,
And Georgia, of course, is an SEC program, so if he'd have taken one of them kind of jobs, yeah, it's not good. So it is what it is.
so it speaks. I think it speaks well to to progress and momentum that we think is going on in Norman. So I think Lamar Gordon. It's a big upgrade. Is it an upgrade over Valai? It might be. He might be a slightly better recruiter. And we'll see about being a position coach, but I like the fact he has DC experience. His resume is very strong, and his
Yeah.
guys get the ball and get interceptions, and
Yeah,
that's
they're ball hawks, man. They really are, and he seems to have them in the right position. Look, it's not a problem that they've had, but having a guy like this, I mean, you didn't want to see them have a drop off in the recruiting because Jay's been killing it. Jay Valai's been killing it.
he's been doing a good job.
You got back to back freshman All Americans, and some puppies that you think are going to be really good, and a Jacoby Johnson that's gotten better year after year.
Yeah,
Coming
especially
out of
last
Mustang.
year when that wide receiver transition year kind of blew up his year. But
Yeah, but even
last
before that, he was doing well enough that they felt
yeah,
like
yeah.
they could make that move. But the thing is with him, he's just so athletic,
Yeah, and
And
he's
I've always
poised for a
said
big air. Yeah,
when I was saying this year, it's like you didn't hear him calling his name much, but he was on the field a lot. So if you're not hearing him calling his name much and he's on the field a lot, that's a good thing. That means they're not throwing at him.
oh yeah. I mean, I think for overall, I think Lamar Jordan. He comes in running, right? I mean, there were some concerns maybe if you promoted some other folks or you got some less experienced guys that they might have an adjustment to SEC football and getting DBs ready for the grind of the SEC. With Lamar Jordan, you don't worry about that. His experience level tells you that he does. But he's also a pretty young guy, so he's another high energy kind of person that you like. So I think this was a good hire, and it was just surprising, which I think is good that that it's a name that that Brent didn't do the predictable thing, right? That shows that the hiring process is getting some maturity and rigor around it, which is what we want, right? This is how you avoid mistakes by looking at multiple people when you hire folks and not just hiring the friend of Brent or the OU guy the alum that people are pushing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm seeing Quentin Griffin in there, and like that almost feels like to me like that. I would never want AD to become the Oklahoma running back coach because I don't want to hear you people talking about him the way you did about DeMarco. Don't want to see this.
Again, so I think that shows a certain level that OU's serious about this. I mean, you saw what Jason Witten got paid coming through the door, right? OU wasn't screwing around to recruit Witten and get him in to be the tight end coach. And they're not screwing around paying their assistants. They realize that if and when any guardrails get around college football, and who knows when that will happen, if it will happen, but at some point, if it does, putting money into your staff is going to be one way that you counter that cap, right? That you get better.
No doubt. And I mean, you saw where, Eli Drinkwitz in December when what a deal he got. I can't believe the deal he got, by the way. That, 10.25 a year going up to 11.25 at the end of the deal if it stays at 2031. But every year he has 8 wins. They've given him $200,000 extra and another year on the deal. Plus, they bumped up his assistant pay to $16 million. You've got to pay these dudes. They will leave.
Yeah, this is why Chavis is now making $1 million, and this is why Todd Bates is making $1 million, and this is why you've also brought in
an two now, isn't he? Didn't he?
He's probably like 1.2, 1.3, something like that. And then this is why you bring in an assistant analyst to work with Chavis and Bates, right? We're bringing in someone to help you with the load. They're bringing in this Clemson guy. I think his name's Deshaun Lawrence. I think I have that right. And he's going to help those guys. And he's got like a Chavis-like profile kind of to him. And that means, if you're Chavis and Bates, you're like, okay, well, OU's bringing in someone to help us to reduce our workload and help us have a better.
No, I like that pickup too. I thought that was big.
I mean, that guy's an NFL guy just a year ago. George Stoya was talking about covering him with the Broncos and how good he was.
A walk-on, wasn't he, at Clemson? Wasn't he a walk-on at Clemson?
I don't know. He was an undrafted free agent, and he made his.
Maybe that was what it was.
He grinded his way into the NFL, and that's the kind of guy that brings some gravitas with the young D line that we're bringing in. So everything OU's doing seems to be that Nagy is like, okay, I'm fine playing with no guardrails. I'll make it work. But if and when guardrails get put in, I'm going to make sure Brent and OU has the best staff.
Make no mistake, though, they're not going to stop paying these kids. You can't.
No. But I'm just saying.
Listen, I'll just throw this out here real quick. The guardrails don't seem any closer. I was here in Mississippi today.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And I mean, listen, well, I'm going to talk more about that later on another show, but suffice it to say, the NCAA, number one, they're not putting up a huge fight. And number two, they suck at it anyway. So it's, these things aren't changing. Trinidad Chambliss is back. He's coming back. The injunction went through. He'll be back this year. Get ready. And these things aren't going to change. But I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly that the money that's going around college football right now, you cannot sit there and hoard it if you're one of these universities because you won't continue getting it because you won't win.
You've got to invest in. So OU's investing in staff, right? Nagy's got has his professional front office, and Brent has the money to go get quality,
he does
excellent hires. So, I think that the Lamar Jordan thing it shows that I lost a really good guy, I brought in a really good guy. So, I've got continuity on the staff, and I'm bringing in somebody else who has DC knowledge that somebody else who can bring different ideas to the table so that the defense never gets stale, so to speak, if that makes sense. The defensive strategy sessions never get stale. You've got Goodwin, Dreiling, Hall, and now Morgan all bringing different ideas to the table to Brent in terms of how OU's game day strategy should be to do different things, identify tendencies and say, well, we keep doing this, we should be doing this instead. Those things, when you have someone that's been calling the whole defense, he can bring those. He's got the authority to bring that to Brent and say we should be doing these things instead in our secondary coverage. And Brent can say, you know what, you're right, and that's invaluable even for a defensive whiz like Brent, right? You can always learn new stuff. You can always, having four DC smart minds in the room is better than one. Just is.
No doubt. And I mean, we've already seen there's no egos in this room either. You know what I mean? Well, and also none of them are under the illusion that they're in charge of anything over Brent. So
exactly.
That probably helps.
Yeah, exactly. There's no. So I think it's really good. But I think it's a clear sign that OU is competitive salary wise, which is great news, right? Because Joe C was always, criticism of Joe C was he was always, minding the purse a little heavily, right? Mm-hmm. That's one criticism of Joe C from lots of folks, and I don't have the budget. I'm not knowing whether he was tight with the purse, whether OU was just AD overall was tight, and Joe C was given a strict budget, and he was just working with tight guidelines. But regardless, OU had the money to make sure that Lamar Morgan, who was clearly out there willing to accept offers, decided, yep, OU's a great place to be, and they're paying top rate, and I can go there, and I know I can go there, do really well for 3 or 4 years, and if I want to jump to the NFL, that'll happen too. And that's upward mobility from your assistants is not a bad thing.
No.
When you're not, I don't mean to bag on the guy, but Joe John Finley is still out there on not hired, and he's going to have to, I think, do some soul searching.
Which is wild because I thought he was going to Texas State there for a while. That's what it looked like, and then all of a sudden he's just not there.
Yeah, so he's got. I don't know what he's going to do, but it is much preferable to be losing coaches in the way OU's lost Valai and Murray than what OU had to do with Joe John Finley. That this is good attrition versus negative bad attrition, mm-hmm. and I think that speaks well to where the program may be heading. But we'll see. We got another season to get our legs stabilized before we put too many carts before horses in terms of that. But I think there are positive signs. There are positive signs, though.
No, listen, the way they recruit, the way that they've the coaches that they have, aside from one or two that I would talk about, that I would say. But I'll just say this: if you can prove me wrong and shut me right up, if you go handle business this year on that offensive side of the football,
yep.
And look, adding a guy that, I know a lot of people are, we can go ahead and just talk about who we think might be the guy in the running back room because, look, I think at some point it becomes toxic enough that I don't think that DeMarco's a big social media guy that cares a whole lot. And I know he doesn't give a two shits normally what anybody thinks about him because he's always been a prima donna. Always, as we know. That being said, at some point, it probably gets toxic enough that it's time, right?
You just need to. I think a fresh voice in the room is going to be an asset.
Yeah, and the truth be told, I mean, look, for whatever reason it is, here's the thing: sometimes you fire whoever, and it may not be their fault. You know what I mean? The one thing that concerns me, as I said a few minutes ago, is that this is a guy that recruits his ass off. And, I mean, the dude just brings in top 100 running backs year after year.
And let's be real. I mean, for all the DeMarco haters, let's have a reality check here.
Yeah.
This resets OU's recruiting. OU has 3 really good verbal commitments for 2027 and 2028, and they are heavily tied to DeMarco Murray.
Yes, they are.
They are Micah
As are
Rhodes,
the other guys that are in the room today.
as you know, Hatton, Walker. These guys are all heavily tied to DeMarco. This is not a situation where DeMarco was unable to recruit, didn't have the energy to recruit, or whatever criticism you want to lay. I mean, he got Hatton. He flipped Hatton for us. Now, the OU front office was able to add a little leverage that propped the door open, that allowed Marco to blow it open. So it's a team effort, but we're going to take a hit. Micah Rhodes probably will put himself back on the recruiting market in the next couple of
Yeah, I
weeks.
figured that's probably right. He's a 28 kid, so I mean, there's a lot of time.
This time, right? Keldred Ben from Montgomery, Texas, probably will do the same thing. Part of that is his recruiting is just blown up. His offer list after he verbal to OU is just ridiculous. Oregon, Texas, Miami. I think UGA probably is close to offering or has offered. So it's a massive list. Truoki, DeMarco has been talking to the kids. I mean, this all just blew up late Wednesday night. So I told Jason.
I don't know exactly what he said, but he's not like these guys and him are tight anyway. So they weren't. Now it may have been kind of news to them or whatever. I think it's kind of news to everybody because it looked like he was staying. But I'll say this is like, that's what I was saying earlier. DeMarco's loyal to Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's been talking. He's talking to the kids. He's telling them to stay with OU, wait for the new coach, all the things you want him to do. But the Chiefs have been after him for nearly like 2.5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And DeMarco was pretty much set on staying at the end of last week. That's what my sources told me. Jason will tell you that I told him that last week. And that basically the Chiefs came back around like the third time, upping whatever their pitch was before DeMarco finally said yes. So this is
I think if Mahomes is back, and that's a big if. If Mahomes is back next year, he's not going to be 100%, and they need to run the hell out of the football. And they really haven't run the ball well lately.
No, and they're probably going to pick up Jeremiah Love in the draft, or that's what the rumor is from Notre Dame.
That makes sense.
He'll either tumble to them through some insane calculation of different picks going to different players. But I think
he's a stud, man.
And we know. I honestly think DeMarco's kind of hard ass my way of the highway. I think it probably works with veterans better than it does freshmen and sophomores.
I would agree with that. I know that. I mean, the rumor is that Taylor Tatum told him to go fuck himself at one of the last practice that he was in. So.
Well, and
that used to be another one of those dudes that loved him some DeMarco.
Well, exactly. And the coach that recruits you and the coach that coaches you, that's always the reality check, right? And DeMarco, and Kennedy Brooks loved playing for him. Eric Gray loved playing for him. Ramondre Stevenson loved playing for him.
Even after Tawi, we know everything that happened with Tawi and him the year that, before he left. And Tawi, he was on the show with me one day. He has nothing bad to say about DeMarco. Loves him.
Good. He's a good. So I just think maybe the room needs a little more of a mentor and a little less of a hard ass. And maybe that's a transition maybe you make. I don't know.
There's a difference in coaching hard and being a prick all the time.
There is, and maybe DeMarco walked that edge, but where did he learn that from?
I think he probably did.
He learned that from? He learned it from Kale, and everyone thinks Kale.
Oh yeah, Kale's a prick. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, so that's where everyone's like, why does DeMarco do these things? He learned them from Kale. It's like, guys, he sat on the bench and watched Alan Patrick start games ahead of him. When we all knew in 2007 that DeMarco was the best damn running back in the room, but
without a doubt.
So some of those things, but I think it could be a positive move for OU. The only question I have, Jason, is some of the names I'm seeing. I'll just be blunt. They don't have the recruiting chops and the recruiting pelts on the wall that OU expects on the running back position right now. Now, maybe they can do that with the OU brand behind them, but some of the guys that are being mentioned, I'm like, I follow recruiting heavily. That guy hasn't landed the kind of guys OU wants at running back.
Well, here's what I would say though on that. Can you produce talent out of the guys that you get? Like, because I got to tell you, at the moment, we know, and there's any number of reasons why the running backs haven't succeeded in the last basically 3 seasons. We haven't seen much. Eric Gray was the last one. I mean, look, I get it. Gavin Sawchuk, when he was healthy, he was pretty good. We saw sometime flashes out of Javonte a couple of times, but it was never steady. And then, look, I thought that X Rob and Torrey were really good this past year. They weren't committed to the running game. So my only thought about any of this would be I want to see them be heavy on. I get the recruiting side of it. I think that you can recruit at Oklahoma for running backs because it's Oklahoma. But I think at some point you're going to have to go back to getting those guys to, be able to put up some numbers because that helps their pocketbook, and in turn, helps you continue to recruit really good guys. Right?
Yeah, I think obviously the playoffs. If you're watching the playoffs, obviously having a physical run game and an elite defense are the two check boxes you need to have, right, to move forward, in the playoffs. So I think OU this is part of a new running back coach. Maybe you're looking for somebody who can who
would be your number one guy. Who would be your number one guy?
To me, the guy who sort of combines pelts on the wall, productivity, has been in some diverse offenses that focused on running the football.
Okay.
He did a lousy job as head coach, but Deshaun Foster is available.
Yeah, he would not bother me at all. And correct me if I'm wrong, they were in talks with him a few weeks ago, a month ago or something, about joining the staff in some capacity already.
Yeah, so both George Stoya and I think Parker Thuner have mentioned that has been floating around. So obviously, and Stacey Ford knows him so well. So, and obviously,
Stacey Ford, he's a Cali guy, right?
Well, he was Foster's director of recruiting, director of scouting, I think. So obviously, there's a connection there. For those that don't know, remember, Deshaun Foster was a superstar running back out of Texas. Spurned Texas and OU to go to UCLA, was great at UCLA. He's done a good job coaching. He was good in the NFL when he was healthy.
He was a damn good running back in the league, too. That guy's been a stud since he woke up.
And he's got pelts. He's got pelts on the wall from recruiting. He knows Texas. He's got the gravitas that you would need and like. So I think that's an obvious fit right there, I think, for the most part. And obviously, I like the fact he was under Chip Kelly, in terms of running back coach under Chip Kelly.
Nobody runs it as a coordinator like Chip did.
And Chip ran the damn ball, and that was untalented.
I love those wide splits and running downhill.
Ooh. And that was some. Zach Charbonnet was doing nothing at Michigan, transferred to UCLA, and was like the dude, and he's the dude and then we know what Charbonnet did with the Seahawks since he's been there. So this is when Foster's talking to Jonathan Hatton, he says, "I can make you Zach Charbonnet, and you can be what Zach." So he brings a level of done this, know this.
For a job, isn't he? Still out of a job?
He's out of a job because UCLA had to pay him off, right? So that helps.
Sure.
So I think
he was in year 2. Right?
So that's the name. If you could pull him from Detroit, I mean, Tashard Choice makes too much sense as well.
No doubt. And I mean, if you could pry Rashard Samples away from Oregon,
that makes sense too. That's a recruiting power bomb in the state of Texas.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You're talking about. I mean, if we're talking about recruiting chops, nobody has recruiting chops, including DeMarco, like Samples.
No, he that's a bomb. Oregon's running backs have been fantastic. Their running game, their commitment to their running game.
I like Alford too. I'm with you on this one.
Yeah, did Whittingham retain him? because he was last at Michigan, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure.
So yeah, but if you get one of these power names, and that tells you that for lack of a better,
And
OU's not effing around here, right?
yeah.
We're replacing DeMarco with a similar person who checks a lot of the same boxes as DeMarco, and maybe bring something different to the coaching.
If we're talking about guys like this for real, and there's possibilities that's whose lands. Oh hell yeah!
I mean, so there are other names that are out there. Just to be fair,
Somebody's bringing up the running backs coach that was at. Did y'all say Mizzou?
yeah, he certainly
They
has a
run
lot
the
of.
ball well.
They run the ball.
ball.
He has a lot of productivity. He is an older coach, and if I'm not sure whether that means anything or not. I mean, he's 60. His experience is vast. He was at Okie State doing stuff, and TCU
I
and
definitely like
Missouri.
to go younger.
And if the guy's looking to make a change, and that's the fit you want, and maybe he's more of the mentor that you want to bring in to do something different than what DeMarco was doing. Then yeah, I'd have it. I think he's got a recruiting experience. He's a veteran coach, so that you can't. That's a different way to go. It's not how Brent's kind of been going with some of his hires. So it's running back coach. There's lots of good guys you can find out there that could go anything. Now, there's a guy that's the Utah running back coach who was at Washington State.
Yeah.
He's got, he's in his 50s. He seems like a good guy. He's worked with Stacey Ford. He was at Washington State. He's got familiarity with Buckle's system. But he doesn't have the recruiting. He doesn't have the recruiting side of it.
Well, so, yeah, he hadn't done it.
Yeah, I mean, he just hasn't recruited at the level that we need. There's some Stan Drayton is out there. He's now at South Carolina.
That name keeps coming up too.
Would he bail on? Would he bail on South Carolina having just taken that job? I would. Cam Martin.
He's got the hottest seat in the SEC. Martin, you could leave. You may be leaving at the end of the year anyway. You may be leaving earlier than that.
Cam Martin, the FSU guy's coming up. He's interesting. He's very young, but he's interesting in some of the production from the guys he's coached. He coached R.J. Harvey at UCF, and R.J. Harvey with the Broncos that guy's a dude, and he was a dude at UCF. He was. In 2023 when we played UCF.
Guys that worked with the Shanahans and stuff like that. They know what they're doing with that shit.
Yeah, so that's a name. So it's running back coach. There's lots of guys that you could potentially find, but it's hard to imagine that you were actively thinking about bringing Deshaun Foster on as an analyst, and now you have a running back coaching position open. That if we were betting on this, that's who I would bet on. But Brent, like I said, but again, Brent went off the hot board for Lamar Morgan, and maybe he does that again. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I do think it's clear that OU is not screwing around in terms of pay and opportunity for assistants coming in. They see this.
Again, that's the most. Loyalty, all this loyalty talk and shit like that, and loyalty goes both ways, and loyalty is shown through your paycheck.
Well, and again, you need to be, it's okay being in a position when your guys excel and move up, because that allows you to bring in new talent and good. You're not scrambling trying to find guys. This is the.
Oh, but make no mistake. The corner job looked good to everybody.
The running back job's going to look good to folks.
But that's what I was going to say, and make no mistake, the running back job is going to look good to a lot of people. Because guess what? Even if you don't believe that like Buckle's going to do this or that or whatever, you can only go up from last year.
Yeah, and
because the missing production wasn't a missing talent thing. It was a scheme thing, and what they were, the inability to adjust.
And the offensive line should be better. The tight end room should be significantly better. All of these pieces, and we should be healthier and deeper in the running back room. All these things equal, the right guy coming in is going to get a lot of praise. Mm-hmm. OU turns this around. The running game turns around. the running back room excels, is that guy's gonna get a lot of praise as an opportunity. Plus, let's just talk about the running backs that OU has. It's we don't want to put Quentin Griffin and make AD our running back coach, but it goes from those guys, right, to DeMarco, to Joe Mixon, to Ramondre Stevenson, to Rodney Anderson. I mean, there's we're about due for a breakout season from an elite Sooner running back. You're on mute, Jason.
That's what I was about to say. You need to get a guy that can.
We're due. We're due.
And a lot of that, again, I think scheme's going to have a lot to do with that. But maybe another voice in the room and somebody to look. You go get a guy that's been, they run the ball a certain way and it's done good. Kchris was saying last night about. He felt like, sometimes these guys, maybe they're a little too patient in the hole or something like that.
Yeah,
and I think that at times Torrey wasn't patient enough last year, but he was bursting quicker. But I think Jonathan Hatton, I mean, the guy is, this is kind of that complete running back type of guy. He's got big time speed, but he's also got that low to the ground, and he doesn't mind running over people. He reminds me so much of Samaje a lot whenever I watch him. It's just very similar to like the way that, pad level low, but he can get it, man. The guy can just get it.
I mean, it's a very talented room. We've been hearing nothing but great things about Walker and Hatton from winter workouts. That Walker looks way beyond his recruiting rankings. What my source told me. He looks way beyond what they thought he was going to be and way beyond what the recruiting people analyze him in. That was a weird thing with his team being so bad, going 0-11, that he kind of got downgraded during all of that.
Sure.
And he didn't have any good – his film was limited because you're on a terrible team that can't stop anybody.
And doesn't move the ball.
Doesn't move the ball. Everyone knows you're getting the football and no one's blocking. I mean, it's like, okay. So it's an interesting situation from that standpoint. But I think, we'll see what happens. If OU swings for the fences and lands some of the higher end guys we're talking about, I think that's a massive positive sign in terms of everything going on in Norman. And let's not forget that if you're a running back coach and you're like, okay, well, DeMarco went to the pros is maybe my future. Jim Nagy can say, look, you blow it up here and a pros come looking for you. I'm going to tell them to take you, right? Yeah. That I trust me. I know the guys who are going to be looking to hire you, and I can get you. When you're doing good enough to get interviews, I'll be punching to get you where you need to go. And that's an attractive thing too. Once assistant coaches start seeing that Nagy is helping guys move up, that helps as well, because that's a culture of. Because like I said, the big reason DeMarco, I think, went is so he could mentor under Bieniemy, mentor under Reed, and start getting more involved in offensive game planning. That's what I was told. That's what he wants. And that makes sense. And
so do you think that they do swing for the fences like that, or are they going to go after somebody that he knows from one of his former stops?
Well, C.J. Spiller was a name mentioned. He's a Clemson guy. I think the Clemson connection. I think everyone going back to Clemson, I think that gets weaker and weaker.
That dude.
Yeah, he could run. So, but it gets kind of weaker and weaker. I mean, there's some interesting. I mean, there's some names there's some guys who I'll admit. Tommy Robinson is at UTSA. He's 62. Yeah. He's been all over the place. I don't know what to think of him. In terms of,
I think he's been successful. But I think at a place like Oklahoma and right now with this staff, you're probably leaning more towards Young, right?
Yeah, I think you're living by Young. So having said that, watch him
youngish.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going with someone who's 28
or either youngish or completely polished and knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. So I think it's a chance to reset the room. I do. Like I said, we're going to take a recruiting hit here. We may not have the same guy. Jackson Stokes is pretty heavily tied to Stacey Ford, so I don't see him going anywhere in the short term. But Texas badly wants Keldred Ben to visit, So does Oregon. So, and but if OU hires the right guy and he just clicks with the kids and they're hearing they have the same sort of like the guy brings in has the same sort of gravitas that the big part of DeMarco's message was like, look, I've done it at college, I've done it at the pros. I know what you need to do because I've done it, and that resonated with a lot of kids, and that's why he was able to recruit at such a high level. If you can pull UGA's running back coach, yeah, that's if you're pulling a coach from UGA with the running game they have and the running backs that they recruit and the talent they have, that's not a bad idea. There's a guy from Georgia Tech that I also think has an interesting resume as well. So yeah, they could go a number of directions, but overall, it will tell us a lot about Brent swung for the fences on the defensive side, right?
Of course, that's what he does. He's a defensive coach.
And so we'll see if he swings for the fences on the offensive side, then we'll say, all right, this is just what we're doing in terms of hiring.
That's where, I mean, look, I think they've done okay on the offensive side. I don't think they've been great at times, right? I mean, I'm talking recruit-wise. So the running back room is really good. The running back room has been really good. But I'm saying, like, yeah, I think, look, I think that's that kind of indifference I feel like I don't want to see anymore. And so maybe, I think maybe Brent, that's where, we want to see him prove it again. Go get another good one. Go get it. Witten, I think Witten's going to be great for recruiting. I suspect he'll probably be a pretty damn good coach. I see that, right?
And you brought him in at a high salary and and everyone that's from the NFL side said that the last couple of years he basically was like a coach player. For the tight end spot, that he was basically that's what he was doing. So, and he was coaching high school kids. So he's been working with that population. So that's not a gap in his resume. So, and OU struck quickly when the Bama guy sort of fell off the radar. They did not wait a single instance in getting Witten signed and into Norman. So I like that efficiency. I like I like them doing being effective and being efficient. It was the same way Nagy was in the portal. OU was efficient. There was a plan, and they executed it. So,
the thing is that you're not seeing a bunch of no's coming out of Nagy. I mean, I know that he's in charge of the roster, quote unquote, whatever, right? I think when they want somebody, they're getting them, and so wherever it's coming from.
Yeah, they're
still getting their guys.
They're probably they have a process to resolve conflicts when the coaching staff wants one guy and the scouting team says another guy. They have a process to work through that. Sure. So Nagy detailed that in an interview. So, but you could just look at the 2027 recruiting class overall, top to bottom. OU is not effing screwing around in acquiring high school talent. Nagy is getting contracts, getting guys signed, and getting verbal commitments, and there's 4 or 5 guys that are like in the hopper just waiting for public announcements. So, and those aren't running backs. So what I'm talking about. So I think this is, I
think the running backs are probably sitting back a little bit tonight.
They are. And that makes total sense because DeMarco was their guy and that makes sense. But can OU close that gap with the right hire and quickly do that? Sure they can. And OU, the one thing I will tell everyone, they're going to hire. This is going to be a quick hire. This is going to be. We'll by what was it? What was the Morgan hire? Was it about 7 days?
Yeah.
Okay. So DeMarco left Wednesday. Right.
We
Wednesday
might have somebody Sunday. I think. I think
we could have somebody that quickly because they've known about DeMarco and the Chiefs for a while. So you had to be actively working your.
Not even just that. The last few years, people have been.
Exactly. The pros, Ohio State. All those places. So you had to have you had to have in a drawer. Okay, this is my starting list of names. Cross ones off that aren't realistic because of job changes and doing it. So I think OU will move quickly because OU wants to have this guy in place long enough that he's had multiple phone calls with our running back recruits in February, right when he can't meet them in person. But OU will then push those verbal commitments, if they're still verbals, to be
And
at
you
the
got
March,
Future
to be
Freaks
at the
coming up. Don't you have Future Freaks coming up? And then, of course,
exactly March 7th. You do
spring
everything.
is coming up. Spring practices are starting soon as well.
Exactly. Come to a practice, watch me coach the guys, get a feel for what's going on. So I think that's why it's going to be quick, right? So the guy can quickly come in, build a phone rapport with the guys, and then in-person rapport March 7th at the Future Freaks event. Basically don't focus on helping any other recruits. Just meet with the three verbals and meet with them and get to know them. And then guys come back. We now have a spring game again, which we can use as a recruiting tool, as opposed to that
combine shit. Yeah,
well,
I'm with
exactly. So, but it's
you.
that way. But it's a recruiting tool as well, right? I mean, you can invite kids to come to a spring game, and when they're going to see the future of the team and they're going to see the young players, you can't bring them to that combine crap. No one's going to bother showing up. It's an embarrassment. You're not going to invite anyone to it. But now we have a spring game again. You have a chance to bring in the running backs for the spring game, see how the young guys play, see what's going on, and go from there. But there's a recruiting hit that OU's taking. Is it worth it to reset the room a little bit? Well, that's something we won't know until for a couple of years, until we see what's going on. I do think some of the problems with the running game, I do think it was a little unfair dumping it on DeMarco, especially 24. I mean, what the hell is he supposed to do in 24? I mean, same thing for Emmett Jones. I don't take Emmett Jones to task for 24 either.
Man, come on.
There was nothing to be done.
I think it's a stupid narrative. A lot of this stuff, anyway.
But there are people.
I don't think it's an EJ problem. I don't think it's an EJ problem.
Yep. So there are people that were happy DeMarco left, and I'm like, all right, well, great. And as I said last night, I'm just happy I don't get to hear them whine about DeMarco for the next 7 months.
Yeah.
But I'm sure September 1st, when the running back isn't going for 70 yards on the first play, I'm sure I will hear people wanting to fire our next running back coach. UTEP game, our running back carry number 4. Someone will say we should fire that guy. He doesn't know what he's doing at running back coach. Okay, you didn't like DeMarco.
I just want to see them committed to it, because if you're committed to it and you continue doing it, I think you can start off slow in your running game and still get a lot better. Right?
I do too. I mean, again, Jason, just to me, I don't know how you could have watched the playoffs after OU got knocked out if you're Brent, and you're a football junkie, so we know you were watching it.
Yeah.
And not see, I got to have a productive running game to support my quarterback and to support my defense.
I mean, you go back to that championship game. I thought Miami lost it by stopping. They stopped running.
They went away from Fletcher.
They had the bigger offensive line, the more physical trench team,
and the bigger back. They
went to the air. They went to the air and it bit them. And so, I mean, eventually, the reason that Indiana to me won it was because they weren't going to stop doing what they did. They weren't going to stop doing it. So you've got to run the football. And I would say that the better teams in the whole country last year were big running teams. I
think the Super Bowl, right?
Look at the Super Bowl. Georgia's in that situation instead of Miami. Georgia doesn't stop running the ball.
Yeah, and look at the Super Bowl, right? Sam Darnold, Walker, and the Seahawks running game won that Super Bowl.
Shit. Yeah, and it wasn't a game.
And but also I think if you're Brent, you just have to look and say, I've got my defense to a certain level. Maybe there's another gear, but there's not too many more gears that the OU defense can really hit, right? Just in terms of with the talent and the way NIL works and everything else, right? And guys going early to the NFL, right? I mean, we're probably not going to get to have senior Taylor Wine, right? We just know that, probably. Or senior David Stone, right? The sort of things you would need to take the defense to like a 2000 level or 2003, something like that, right? But he should look at it and goes, well, the best way I can help my defense is by having a good running game to complement my defense. It rests your defense, it wears out the opposing team, and it keeps your quarterback, That you don't have to have hero quarterbacks.
Yeah, listen, with the way that we saw him mature at times last year, game manager is the word of the year for him. So just run the ball.
And let him pass when you've got better weapons. Use your better weapons and have a more balanced game plan where
Well,
the
and don't
ball's
have
not in.
them Watkins zoned on the back end where they don't have to, that they know that you're not going to test them there.
Yeah. So I mean, I think all of that you have to add that up. You did. I'd have to think you did not pay Kevin Wilson $500,000 as your offensive analyst guru guy not to use his acumen with the running game.
I agree 100%.
He loves that job. He loves what he's doing. Get him in a room with Bill Arbuckle and Brent there, and just view what we should be doing and tinker. And because you've now got, like you said, you've got 4 defensive coordinators that can really focus on keeping your defense humming. As a Brent, you've got time to spend sitting down with, last year he was coaching for his job, so being the super DC made perfect sense, right? That was all. He was just doing what he needed to do to keep his job. Completely understandable. But you need to transition this spring.
Now what you need to do to keep your job is to make your offense better too.
Just take your job to the next level, right? I mean, put all those doubts away, put up 10-win seasons, drive in the playoffs, and then Nagy's taking care of your recruiting pipeline, and he's going to take care of your portal pipeline. So it's really just get the offense going, but push your agenda of running the ball. If I'm Brent, I'm like, I need a kick-ass running back coach who can bring some ideas to this table and bring experience and continue to get the elite guys that DeMarco was getting, so that we have studs in the backfield. So I think that tells me that
got to hit, right? One of them's got to hit.
Yeah, I mean exactly. So
the reason that one of these guys is going to hit.
Well, I mean, and they have hit when they've been healthy.
Listen, like I said, I think Torrey's a home run hitter all day long. We've been saying that since last year. I think that X-Rob, when healthy, is he's a beast, and I think that Hatton is gonna be. I think that he's gonna, I keep using that analogy you used that day. I think dogs, if they're gonna bite, they do it when they're puppies, and I think he's gonna bite.
He did. And it's. So I think it's interesting that the hire will tell us a lot, and I'm hoping OU swings for the fences and brings in a guy that we're like, OU's OU's not effing around, and he's Brent is not doing the easy quick hire of some guy he knows. The friend of Brent thing ain't happening. The bringing the OU guy ain't happening, and bringing the Clemson guy's not happening. Brent is pulling the 4 best resumes he's getting from a voice.
I love the way they've been going after. Hey, listen, I would be okay with this guy at Michigan. I mean, look.
Yeah, I mean he's. I mean, again, their backs are really good. So have been good. So let's not. That'd be fine by me. I'm if you swing for the fences and bring in an elite guy, a guy that everyone's like, okay, that's a big time hire. I'm fine with that, and it would be a good sign that OU's doing that and Brent's doing that on offense as well as defense, and he's like, game on. I'm racking my staff up because I got the money to do it.
Yep.
So,
Mr. Mason, we've been going for an hour. It's late.
Yeah.
I know it's later for you than me, but I've been on the road and it's been a long day. I'll be back in the morning to talk Trinidad Chambliss and some other stuff with Marcus Dent. I know you've got a recruiting show coming tomorrow night.
Yeah, I'm going to try and record a pod before I'm getting ready to go out of town for a week. So I'm going to try and get a pod in for everybody. And then Chris, provided Chris is not on the DL, we'll have a recruiting intel on Monday to try and talk about some stuff. And maybe we have some running back news. So I don't
know. Answering this question, do I see Robert Blaylock playing next season given our lingering injury issues? I think the lingering injury issues may have been partly a product of Schmitty. So, listen, I'm going to put it to you this way when it comes to Blaylock. He didn't stop playing. He was hurt in game 1, and the dude continued to play.
And give X-Rob credit for gutting it out, right? I mean, I mean, all things considered, and and they're not injury prone. They just got hurt last
I don't
year.
think they're well. I don't know. X-Rob has been hurt both years, but
Well, actually, he wasn't hurt last year. He just wasn't physically ready to play. He wasn't in shape.
yeah, I thought he got hurt at the end.
I don't remember that, but we might.
It's all good. I mean,
it's all good. I think there's a good chance that and OU can sit him this spring and run Hatton and Walker to their heart's delight, and the new guy can get those guys ready, and that just builds a better room.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. They shouldn't touch a football. They shouldn't be on the field and be in pads that get healthy in the spring. Let the young bucks come in and do their thing, and then see what you got in that. And hey, listen, I am excited about the fact that you've got a new running back coach coming in. We'll see who it is. My choice, I'd love to have Tashard choice as well. I mean, he's a former Sooner. We know it would piss off everybody in Texas. That'd be just a bonus. But I think he's also very good. That running back room in Detroit immediately got better when he got there. I think
exactly like Torrey Blaylock takes Blaylock aside and he's like, hey, you could be Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
You have the speed. You've got the moves. Let me help you. Let me help you make that. Let me help you get there. I mean, I think there's guys that they could hire, but I just hope they swing for the fences. But again, maybe if they get a different name, you take a different view of what they're doing.
As long as they go get a guy that's a guy, you know what I mean?
I want to do at the running back position, like a guy that you're not having to worry about getting guys.
Yeah, and I'm still. Something keeps popping in my head. I feel like it might be Deshaun. What's his name from
Foster.
UCLA?
Yeah.
Foster. Yes. It feels like that when.
Sometimes the obvious move is the right move.
In some way, they've been talking to him, and so it feels like maybe so. You know what I mean?
Sometimes the obvious move is the right move, right? And you can't argue with his resume and what he's done.
Dude, and like I said, shit, if you could go get Chip Kelly, you'd just do that. But he's the next best thing to that. If you want to spread it out and run the hell downhill.
He knows he's got the keys. He's seen it. He knows what to do with it.
Yeah.
So he's also had experience with other offenses, and he's been all over the place. And he's got Texas connections. That doesn't hurt. There's great running backs in Texas.
He was one of those guys when he was in high school in Texas, man.
Yeah, he was he's got that gravitas to walk into a room and young running backs be like, well, who are you? And I'm like, dude, this is who I am. Let me put on my tape. Right. Just like Witten, right? Like go, see who we are. So, but yeah, Jason, we'll be back next week. Hopefully, we'll do a sooner intel. We'll be at full staff, and we'll talk about the news of the day, news of the week, if there is news, or we got some interesting other topics to throw at you. So,
all right, guys, appreciate it. Make sure you guys hit the like on all 3 pages, become a subscriber, help us out. Look, I think we're starting to see it going in a little bit better direction, but we need more. So help us out, man. Appreciate everybody coming in. We'll see you all on the next one.